Oh, hello. A few people have asked me to provide a demonstration for how I use Google Maps to create a KML file that I can also run in OnX-Offroad and also use that on my Garmin so that I get tracks to follow an adventure route. So today I'm going to show you.
Now, today's trip, we're going to use Parks on the Air as an example. So, Parks on the Air is a ham radio sport or event, basically, where you go to national and state parks and you try to raise as many people over HF radio, or actually any band of radio that you can, and activate that park. It's sort of a combination. It's a hobby. A lot of people use this to take the ham radio activity and take it outdoors. I like to take it and use it on the motorcycle. On today's ride, we're going to take the KTM Adventure 890R. And on most of the adventure bikes that we use, I run a Garmin Zumo XT that I can switch from bike to bike to bike. And Garmin Zumo works with Garmin Explore. So we're currently up here in northwest Omaha, and I'm going to take a short ride this afternoon on the motorcycle and probably hit one of these 3 parks. And so in order to do that, I need to get those locations into Google My Maps. So I'm going to pick one of these locations. Let's see. I can get the coordinates like this. Then I'm opening up Google Maps, My Maps, I should say. We're going to create a new map. And I can drop those coordinates in there for that location. And it shows me where that is. I'm going to give it a name, Preparation Canyon State Park. So click Add to Map, change its name. So there's the first one. The second one, and here's the second location. And we will copy that. Go back over here, drop another pin. I'm going to add that to the map. This is Los Hills State Forest. Click Add to Map. Okay. And then the last one. And we'll pick this last one. Get the coordinates. And I use this process for finding campgrounds and other things when I'm camping on a longer trip. Today it'll just be an example of how to find these locations. Okay, so now I've got 3 points of interest. I'm going to create a route to get to these locations, to a couple of these locations. And we'll start with this one. So I'm going to simply go to here, say get directions to here, and it'll create a new layer. So now this is going to be a route from somewhere to Los Hills State Park. Go to Home. That's the section we create up here. And Google Maps will route us on the most direct route, which is never the way we want to go. It takes us up the interstate. And so we're going to pick a more interesting route. So let's just drag this map over here like that. That'd be nice up there. And maybe we'll go Crescent through Honey Creek, get across the river here. So now we'll create a route to the next location just in case that one doesn't work out. So we can go directions to here, and it'll create another layer. And we're going to go from the last place, Los Hills State Forest, and it'll create a route up to this next location. And again, I'm going to drag this route on more interesting roads. That looks nice. Okay. And then from there, we'll probably head home. So go to Home. And we will get directions to here. Notice it creates another layer from Preparation Canyon State Park from my points of interest, and again it will route me on the most expedient way, which is never the way I want to go. So I'm going to click this route and drag it onto something more interesting. Okay, so we're going to leave Omaha, head out, go to Los Hills, go to here, and then back. Okay, so now we have a map. Next thing we need to do is export this map into a KML file that we can import into OnX-Offroads. So I'm going to export to KML, and we're going to do the entire map. And we're going to export as a KML instead of KMZ because OnX-Offroad doesn't support KMZ. So we'll download that. It's going to save it in my downloads. Then I'm going to go to OnX-Offroad, get logged in. Okay, so I have a trip that I recently completed or started to complete that I want to get rid of that. So I'm going to go to My Content, go to All Content, and we want to delete them. Okay, so if I go to My Content, it's all cleaned up. So we're going to import now the KML file that we created, this untitled map. Import it, and now we can see this little trip right here that we scheduled, those 3 locations and our route. Okay, now I also like to use Garmin on my Garmin device, and so that requires a file import. So we're going to go to explore.garmin.com and go to map. Same thing, I have a trip in here that I need to get cleaned up. And you can click the first one and the last one with the shift button down and delete them all. Okay, so those are gone. So I'm looking in my library. Basically have no waypoints or routes, so the map is totally clear, which is what I want. So now I'm going to import, which is up here. And I'm going to import lines as tracks. And you can create a new collection. So we'll call this okay, so now we have that route on our GPS in the POTA 2025 section. So when I go sync the Garmin device to Garmin Explore online, this track will be laid in there. So now we have a Google Maps location. Commonly I'll share this with people that are going to be on the trip so they can have it, or we can tweak or edit it. Then I've added it to OnX-Offroad so that I'm going to have it on the phone as a backup. And then I also imported it into Garmin Explore so that when I sync my GPS device on the motorcycle, this trip will be there. And of course, I'll do this on a much larger scale. Just as an example, here, if I look at the maps, this is a trip that we took recently, and you can see that we'll put lots of points of interest in for campsites and locations, and we'll lay this whole route out here, and then share the KML file with other people, and or they can make their own copies of this map. And that's how we do it.
So while we ride out to the park to do Parks on the Air activation, or so we hope, I just wanted to take a couple of minutes here to remind you of a few things that we found that work best with these. The first one is don't try and use a route when you're following tracks. BDRs and other trips like that won't be route-based at all. And so we've gotten used to using tracks, which basically just lay a red line down on the road for you, so you don't have to worry about routing. The second thing is it's really, really handy to have 2 GPSs. I usually use the Garmin Zumo mounted to the motorcycle, and I use a telephone with OnX-Offroad. 2 different systems to provide redundancy, and honestly it works really good to take the phone next to the campfire, campsite, or into a restaurant at lunch or wherever, and share where we're going or where we've been that day. We're pulling into the park here, and we're going to do a Parks on the Air activation. So we'll get set up and see if we're successful activating this park. The HF bands have been unpredictable the last few days, and so people aren't sure, or people aren't able to make reliable contacts. So here we're hooking up the antenna, which is an in-fed half wave with 49 to 1 pound. It's 65 feet long. It's for handling 40 meter, 20 meter, and 10 meter communications. We're hooking that up to a Zygu G90 20 watt QRP radio, and we're plugging that radio into a 12 amp hour battery pack I got off of Amazon. We use that for charging USB devices and for running the radio, and fortunately it can be charged off the motorcycle's battery. So let's see how this turns out.
This is Whiskey Zero Bravo Charlie Papa, Parks on the Air, US 2316, CQ, CQ, CQ. Whiskey Zero Bravo Charlie Papa, Parks on the Air, US 2316, CQ, CQ. All right, we made one contact with a guy in Tennessee, and he said that his success is pretty limited. A lot of storms in the area, I think, are probably, at least down south, are making it difficult for people to be out. And don't know. Guess it's like that sometimes. So going to pack up here and probably head home.
On the way home, we rode through an area in just south of Blair, Nebraska, where, as you can see right here, there's tree damage on the trees from a tornado on Friday, May 3rd. A huge tornado came through this area and did a lot of damage. And just want to wish all those families, and a lot of them suffered dearly, basically lost their homes. Fortunately, nobody was killed, but want them all to recover and get lives back to normal as soon as possible. So as we pull into home here with an unsuccessful activation, but no day on the motorcycle was an unsuccessful day, as long as we come home safe, healthy, and happy. Hope this was helpful.